Eddie, welcome to the Always Better Than Yesterday podcast. I've been dying to have this conversation with you for some time now, so it's amazing to have you on, brother.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here, Ryan. And I'm delighted that you've asked me to come on and have a chat.
Amazing. Tell us a little bit about you. Who are you? Where are you from? What do you do?
So I'm Eddie Ilic. I live in Bath. I work in a salon in Bath called BA1 Hair. I've been a hairdresser and barber for ever since I left school, really. So from the age of 16, I started as a Saturday boy, sweeping hair, making teas, Saturday jobs, and then loved it. I absolutely love being creative, and so hairdressing was something that I thought I would love to get into.
I love that. And I see you're proudly wearing your Eddie Street Cuts t-shirt. What is Eddie Street Cuts? Tell me all about that project or your work.
So Eddie Street Cuts is a community-based project where we cut the hair for the homeless people in Bath and Bristol. So we got a team of hairdressers and barbers, and we all give our free time to cut the hair for the homeless community. So this is something that I started about four and a half years ago. It was something that so my boss Phil from BA1 Hair, he was doing the soup run in Bath, so giving out food and soup for the homeless. So it was something that I've always wanted to do to help with the homeless and a bit of service to give back, really. So I started helping Phil with the soup run, and it gave me an idea. We cut hair, and why don't we, use this kind of skill in helping people as well? So we aim towards Julian House, and we asked Julian House, and that's where the journey of Eddie Street Cut started, really. In cutting hair in Julian House.
I love that. Why did you start Eddie's Street Cuts? Why is it important to you?
Well, good question, Ryan. Is for me, it's hugely important. So before I started Eddie Street Cuts, I'm in recovery from drugs and alcohol. I've been clean and sober for just over 5 years now. Nice. And thank you. And for me, it's a huge part of service to be able to give back. Because throughout my kind of journey of addiction, I was on a very fine line. I was suspended off work. I was, my world had literally become smaller and smaller, and the consequences were getting bigger and bigger, and getting into recovery, it's taught me something. It's taught me to be selfless. When we get into recovery, from my experience, I like to help people. I like to give back. In active addiction, all we care about is me, and where's my next drug or drink? Who can I manipulate? Who can I lie to, steal? So getting into recovery, it's completely the opposite. So that's how the Street Cuts, the message behind it, it's a message of hope for recovery. So that's why it's a big part of my life today, because it's something that I've learned to be able to keep it. I've got to give it away. And that, I mean, to keep my own recovery, I've got to give that away to someone else. And that is by helping someone who might have been, gone down the same path, or, it's that connection we get from each other.
Amen to that. Mate, I love it. And I follow your Instagram, and you share these stories of people, and, you talk about hope, but it's humanity as well. And I just love it. So over the last 4.5 years, talk to me about some of the stories of people that you've connected with. What does having a haircut, something as simple as a haircut, do for these people?
Yeah, well, it's amazing, really, because for a lot of these men and women who have been living out on the streets, or experiencing homelessness, um, quite a few of them haven't, had that human contact or had that human connection for, it could be a day, it could be a week, it could be a month, or it could be, for however long. So, for us as a team as well, of the ESC volunteers, through my experience as well, giving out a haircut, for someone who hasn't had a haircut in a while, it's given them that kind of like that human contact, that human connection, that their dignity, something that they've kind of lost from within. And there's been a time where I think it was last year, and I was cutting hair out in Bristol, and the BBC done like a little footage of it, and to this day it's something that the real kind of message behind Eddie Street Cuts. So I was cutting this chap's hair, and we connected, we got on, and then a few months later, I went back to Bristol, and I saw this person sitting in a doorway, and he was on drugs, and he was not in a good way, and we were talking, and I said, "Oh, do you want another haircut at all?" And it was only like the other week I'd cut it, and so we started off of like having a bit of a joke and whatnot. So. But he was telling me that he had a real bad headache. And I said, mate, you got to look at that. You've got to get that, checked out. So that was that. I didn't see anything from him from then. And then his sister got in touch with me. And his sister said, I've seen this footage of my brother. I'm really worried about him. I've heard that he's OD'd. I've heard that he's died. Can you please help me try and find him? So, of course, I was worried for her and for him, So I tried my best. I gave her contacts through, DHI, BDP, Julian House, all these local Bristol and Bath charities, and through this video of me cutting this person's hair, her brother's hair. Through other people, she was able to find her brother again, and it was only lucky. I say, like we talk about it. Me and this person are really close. We'll WhatsApp, we'll call, and I visited him in the hospital a couple of times, and he was arrested that day, and he had a brain seizure. So he was lucky that he got arrested, in some way of that fact that because he was taken care of and put straight into hospital. So it's that kind of like connection that this lady had able to find her brother again through a haircut, and that's something as well that will always stick with me. And one of the most amazing things is that I've made a friend out of it as well, that we've created this connection and this contact, and he's doing so well. He's going to be put into like a housing accommodation, and he was being really well looked after in the in hospital. And so it's that connection. And also what I love from it as well, Ryan, is when I give a haircut and I share my experience, that I'm clean and sober. I got sober at 21. That there is a solution, that you don't have to live your life like this anymore. I was lucky enough to find it through the 12-step program of recovery. And that's something that has been given to me so freely that I can be able to pass on to others. So I'm so grateful for the 12-step program. Without that, I wouldn't be here today. Do you know what I mean? So when somebody's sitting in the chair, it's a safe place where they can open up and they can share about how they're feeling, and you know, through a haircut and human contact. And there's been times where you know, some of my homeless friends have been to a recovery meeting, but it's something when they're ready. Do you know what I mean? It's addictions and an inside illness. You know, no people, place, or thing can fix it. Only you've got to want it and do it yourself. So, you know, that's what I love, is like, you know, seeing people, you know, just getting that message, or, you know, that's the seed being planted, really.
I love that story, mate. Thank you so much for sharing. And you know, we're often reminded to go love one another. You know, have a society who love one another. And you know, I love what you're doing, but so often it's you don't see everybody else. You know, majority of people don't do what you do, which is reach out, love people, and help people. What would your word of encouragement be to people listening that do want to help out, that do want to reach out? How can they get involved and serve those that might need it?
Yeah, great. You know, great question, Ryan. I think, you know, it's important to spread that awareness. You know, it's an issue, homelessness. Big issue here in the UK, Bath, Bristol. You know, places that I've gone across around the UK. You know, up north in Manchester, it's really hit hard there, in London, and but you know, it's given someone their time, I think, and, you know, acknowledging them. You know, just because they're living out on the street, you know, in a tent or whatever, it doesn't mean that they're any different from you or me. You know, I think that's important. At the end of the day, they're human beings, and they want to be treated like human beings. You know, and I'm not saying all homeless people are addicts or alcoholics. You know, a lot of people have you know, being servicemen. You know, they've been in the forces, and or, you know, their wives or husband has died, and the rent's got too high. You know, so it's something that's kind of escalated and gone to a downward spiral.
Mm-hmm.
And something that I've learned from, you know, talking with my street friends is, you know, we're only 3 pay packets from being homeless ourselves, you know, or in that situation. So you know, and I think for me personally, and you know, other people can do as they wish, or what they like. You know, that's their opinion, that's their stuff. But I never I never give out money. You know, because I know, you know, that can be spent on, you know, enabling. So it can enable, and it won't actually make it any better. So, you know, what I like to do is give them time, you know, get down on their level. You know, if they're sitting down, get down, speak to them, ask how their day is, you know, buy them a coffee, pouch of tobacco, or, you know, a hot food or something like that. And that can mean so much more than what money can give. Do you know what I mean? It's that time and that acknowledgement to the homeless people.
Yeah, I love that. The bottom half of your logo, what does that say?
Escape your fears.
Talk to me
So
about that.
so this is this is meaning so that there's a solution. You know, we don't have to live in the built-in fear. You know, for it's just something that I kind of thought about. You know, coming up with the logo. You know, being in recovery. You know, years and years, ever since before I picked up a drink or a drug, you know, I had that kind of fear built in me. Do you know what I mean? It was when, you know, I was always scared of the school reports or what other people thought of me, you know, so I felt with that fear. So when I first tried a drink and a drug, you know, that fear felt released, you know what I mean? And for me, I was always chasing that, you know, I was chasing the next hit. I was trying to get to that point. And so that's where, like, it resembles, you know, there's a solution. You know, we don't have to live in the fear.
You were lined up to speak at a TED event, which obviously couldn't happen during the pandemic. What would you have, or what were you preparing to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, that was, I was so delighted, Ryan, when they asked me, it was like, wow, like it's amazing. Do you know what I mean? Like, um, yeah, because that was supposed to be in October. So now it's been rearranged for spring next year. So the theme on that was interconnected. So, similar to how we're talking, I guess, it's that kind of, how important is it for just to be kind to someone, and how that can help that other person. We don't know what the kind of stuff that they're going through. I think it's and it's to get that awareness out there, really. So I'm really looking forward to it. It was such a pleasure to be asked to do an event of TEDx.
Mhm. I'm definitely going to be there in the crowd when we can get back there for sure. What's you know, it's we're narrowing down 4.5 years into almost a 10-15 minute conversation. You've traveled. I've seen that you've gone to Europe with your street cuts. What are some of the most memorable kind of times for you, both highs and low, I imagine?
Yeah. So like I remember going to Naples, and that was
Mhm.
just beautiful. And the lovely thing is about doing the street cut somewhere else is that, it opens that path, and it opens the street of meeting so many people from different backgrounds, different stories, and different places as well. So that's something that kind of I love of doing the street cuts. When I'm away somewhere else, is meeting all walks of life, and all different kind of people. But for me, it's that connection. That really kind of, it's quite, there's not a moment that I don't ever think how my street friends are, in Naples or Amsterdam, and people who have come into my life and built that kind of connection. I always think I wish them well, and I hope they're doing okay. And and it can be tough, hearing people's stories, and getting hearing people's stories, and how they've got to where they are. It can take a lot to take in. So but that's why I think, for me personally, it's important to kind of make sure my batteries are recharged, make sure
Mm.
I'm okay. And you know and this is like something that I work with my 12-step program and my recovery thing. So this is, for me, that's without my recovery, I wouldn't be able to do the street
Yeah.
cutting. So it kind of interlinks and comes hand in hand.
Yeah. How do you keep strong in your heart and mind?
um, Reaching out to newcomers. So what I mean
Mhm.
by that is, um, my the recovery meetings that I go to, if there's a new person that has just walked through the door, battered, broken, um, it's important. I've got to kind of, I feel I want to reach out to that person, take their number, go for a coffee, um, you know, show them that there is, a solution. And that's something, it's working with another addict or alcoholic, which has helped me massively, because it comes from, like we were saying, to keep it just to give it away. So
Mm.
that's something that is, helped me daily. Exercise as well. But it's connection, getting that connection back. When I'm not connected, and I'm not, we all have our off days, right? It's, but if I keep doing the stuff that I'm doing today, and that's reaching out to newcomers, or going on to online meetings, and um, recovery meetings held in Bath. That's something that I'm very grateful for. Is that the meetings are still on. I can go to live meetings still, which is so important. And doing the step work, and just being being also reachable but yet teachable. You know, I never want to stop learning, because, you know, that's where I grow. You know, I never want to think I've cracked this, because I never will. Addiction, I will never crack. You know, you will never do it. You know, that's the disease centered in my mind, anyone else's mind who suffers with it. It will tell you that you haven't got a disease. So it's important for me to stay connected, stay well, and you know, do the service, like helping the homeless community.
I love your pastoral heart. I love that, how much you give, and you're right. You know, you can't give what you've not got, and it's great that you've been able to find ways of trying to manage that. What is the best piece of advice you can give any of our watchers and our listeners that might help them in their own growth and development and their own journeys?
I mean, I guess if anyone's kind of maybe thinking that they're drinking too much or using too much, you know, it's the best thing that has ever happened for me is reaching out and asking for help. You know, not, you know, because I tried doing it all on my own, you know, or doing it for work, doing it for family, but you know, I've had to want it for myself and do it for myself. And that was starting off by reaching out, you know, and asking for help. That's the first step, really. So I think that's kind of something which is always kind of stuck with me. You know, is that you know, reaching out and just asking, you know, if for help, basically. So
How much has forgiveness played a part in your recovery?
a lot. You know, it's funny because I was on a meeting the other night, last night, and it was about forgiveness as well.
Mm-hmm.
So you know, and that's something that I work with my sponsor and you know, Step Work. So you know, it's, and a huge part of doing the homeless haircutting is, you know, also forgiving. You know, it's kind of giving. There's been times in my active addiction where I've hurt people, and I've you know, family, and put my family in a lot of fear. So to be able to do this kind of service for the homeless, it's almost like repaying that amends to myself and to others. So, you know, forgiveness is it's important to try and for me to try and just be easy on myself, you know, rather than daily beating myself up because, you know, maybe I'm not this, maybe I'm not that or that, you know, but I've got to be kind of content, and I've got to be, you know, happy with one, you know, with myself, you know, and then I can able to reach out and help others as well.
You use the word there, one, this sense of oneness. Where does that come in? Is there a spiritual sense? Is that more of a connectedness to self? Like, where does that come in?
Yeah. You know, it's connection, really, Ryan. You know,
Yeah.
through like the years of you know, of when I, you know, in active addiction, it was I didn't know who I was. Do you know what I mean? I'd lost myself, and I was always searching. So getting into recovery, I was able to find out who I really am and what I like and what I like to do. And so, you know, I think it's important for me to kind of keep that connection central, you know, because you know, that's something that you know, I'm has been given to me so freely because of the 12-step program. You know, it's that connection with self, you know, that don't have to today. I don't have to mask my feelings. I don't have to drink on my feelings or use on them. You know, I can be okay with me. Do you know what I mean? There's, of course, it's there's times where I feel very uncomfortable in situations, and you know, I used to drink on that, or I used to, you know, use on that, but today I have a choice. You know, I don't have to do that. You know, I have the power where I can go in a situation. If I don't want to be there, I can just right, call it a night or call it a day. You know, I don't have to, you know, be a pushover or people please. You know, I can actually be okay and do the, you know, do the things that I like to do, really.
I just want to say I admire your heart, the way in which you're carrying yourself now, and your ability to share your story. And it takes great courage, and I always honor that. So thank you. And I know that we were saying before we came on, this is like your first podcast you've ever been on. I hope it's the first of many. I think many people need to hear your story and the way in which you show up and help people in the world, because I know that that will inspire many, many, many people. Thank you for your heart. Thank you for your mind. Thank you for the way you show up. How can people connect with you?
Well, you know, we can connect, you know, I guess, you know, there's always ways of connecting. We can, yeah, good question, really. Like, connect, do you mean like, what do you mean? Do you mean?
So you got a website, you got Instagram?
Yeah, I mean, we got an Instagram, Eddie Street Cuts. We do quite a lot on that. We obviously, through the lockdown at the moment, we haven't been able to do as much as what we can do, but it's great to be able to help out where we can. So after the summer, we were doing a lot with Bosch, Bristol Outreach Service, so which they're centred in Bristol. So we've been doing a lot of haircutting there. But you know, we keep up the kind of images and the videos up on there because it's important to get that awareness and you know, show people how a haircut can make someone feel, and that human connection and contact. So yeah.
Amazing. My ethos is about helping people be always better than yesterday. I'm just curious to know, what does that phrase "always better than yesterday" mean to you?
Well, it means a lot, you know, because I was thinking about that actually. You know, it reminds me of living in today, you know, not projecting into the future and not kind of shutting the door on the past, but just, you know, living for today, you know, and that's kind of what it brings to me, Ryan. You know, I think it's a lovely way of like putting things into words of that. So, you know, I admire, you know, I read it, you know, on your Instagram, and I think of it, and you know, I love it, mate. Absolutely love it.
Thanks, my friend. Thank you. It's been an honor and privilege having you on, mate. It's been so good. We're going to stay connected. I'd love it if you leave us a final thought from your good self.
Yeah. Yeah, just, you know, in this time, obviously it's very it's difficult with COVID, you know, people off work, on work, you know, it's all up in the air at the moment, but you know, it's not going to be like this forever, and you know, nothing ever remains the same. So you know, we'll looking forward to seeing everyone, and you know, cutting hair again and getting out on the street and seeing all my lovely clients in the salons. So you know, and being out there in the world again. So yeah.
And we're going for coffee.
Definitely, yes.
Amazing. Thank you so much for coming on, my brother.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you so much for having me, mate.